Welcome to yet another Sunday recap video. At St. Francis Youth, we're seeking to become apprentices of Jesus. And an apprentice spends time with their master, becomes like them, and seeks to do as they do. And that's what we are trying to do as we base our lives and centre our lives around Jesus. But before we can really throw ourselves into this, I think there's some barriers that we need to examine first. And so last week we looked at the barriers of perhaps those underlying anxieties or fears or struggles in our lives. And we looked at lament as almost an antidote to this barrier. Lament as a way of just being real and honest to God about what is going on in our lives and in our emotional lives as well. And this week we looked at the barrier of noise, that there is so much background noise in our lives that often it's difficult to spend any time really in silence or quiet in order to encounter God. We talked about some of the examples of those background noise, spending a lot of time, I guess, thinking about social networks and games and technology. These are amazing gifts, amazing things, but also just constantly mean that we are connected all of the time. And we also suggested worship. You know, worship is a great thing. It's good for us to be able to sing praises to God and recognise Him as the best thing in our lives. But actually, even worship can sometimes be us making noise in order not to have a moment of quiet to really listen to what God is saying in our lives. There's a real challenge there, I think, with worship. And so we've got all of this kind of noise, this background noise, yet we have a God, I think, who is found in quiet and in silence. And so you hear this from Habakkuk 2:20. It says, "The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him." We also read that passage from 1 Kings 19, where God is not found in the earthquake or the storm or the fire, but in the still small voice. And in Luke 5:16, we're reminded that even when Jesus had the busiest days, when he had the busiest days, he was most likely to be found first thing in the morning, finding quiet places to be with God. So silence is really important. It's a way of us tuning out of the background noise, focusing in on God in order to spend some significant and meaningful time with him. But not only is silent good to help us tune into what God is saying to us, but also it's helpful for us to know what is really going on in our souls as well. Moments of silence help us to check in with ourselves, to recognise what emotions we're feeling or sensations that we're feeling, and perhaps even to offer those to God and for those to inform and help our prayer lives. And finally then, we had a go, and we had a go with what is known as the Examen, which is an ancient Ignatian prayer. It's a way really of thinking of the highs and lows of the day, but offering that to God in prayer. So in the link to this video, I'll include the meditation that we used. I've also done one on our Pray With Me series, which is on Spotify, so that you can continue to give the Examen a go. We are passionate about not just talking about this stuff. If God is really wanting to encounter us, then let's do it. Let's try this stuff out. And so we want to encourage you to keep dealing with the stuff that you wrote on your rocks in the first week, those things that are weighing heavy on your soul. And a reminder that as a youth team, we're here to support you and encourage you in that. And we want to encourage you with this week's practice to have a moment of silence. And you might want to try doing that with the Examen. You might want to just think about your social media habits, maybe, turning your phone off occasionally, or making a rule that you don't go on social media after a particular time, just so you've got that time and space for silence where you can meet with God and where you can check in with what's going on with yourself. So thank you. We look forward to seeing you next week, where we can kind of thinking about mental well-being together. And then after next week, we're going to be launching into our brand new series we're calling Centre. How can we make God the centre of our whole lives? Not just a Sunday, but actually if we go to the cinema, what does it mean to worship God at the cinema? Or if we listen to music, actually, how can all music be worship music? We're really looking forward to diving into that. Have great weeks, stay in touch, and we'll see you soon.